Hi everyone, it's Alex from Sigma. Today I'm going to show you how to migrate your documents and files from virtually any storage type to the cloud in Office 365 using mover.io. You may be asking, why would I move my files to the cloud in Office 365? Well, you may have a server in your office that near its end of life, maybe having performance issues, maybe struggling with backups and costs. Or you could be after a solution that's just easy to use, easy to share documents with internal and external people, but you find other solutions like Egnyte or Dropbox very basic and actually they don't integrate well with your systems. For example, you need to have different sets of username and passwords, different billing, another thing to pay, another thing to worry about. Most likely you are after a single solution that can handle document sharing, communication, collaboration, and Office 365 is the best tool to achieve that. And how can your company migrate documents and files easily? With mover.io, it's a company that has been pioneering in migrations from cloud to cloud and from on-prem to cloud, and they recently have been acquired by Microsoft. Mover.io supports a large number of sources to copy documents from, including Amazon S3, Amazon Work Docs, Azure, Box, Dropbox, Egnyte, FTP, SFTP, Google Drive, OneDrive, Sharepoint on-premises, Sharepoint Online as well, and WebDAV. Now that we have the right tool to migrate the documents and the right platform to store them, let's start our planning. Let's take some notes about how the system works, its capabilities and limitations. As move to migration, it starts with a very detailed and documented plan. And remember, fail to plan is plan to fail. Mover.io works by reading your files at source, caching them on their servers, and then copying the files to the destination. Once the file copy is verified, the temp file is stored at the servers at mover.io is deleted. This process happens one file at a time for every single file. File data copying is a very resource-intensive task, and each cloud provider has different restrictions on how many operations per second you can do. As a rule of thumb, calculate one file operation per second to process the file, and then on top, the time required to transfer the file, which can also be throttled by the cloud provider at source. If you have, for example, 100,000 files, that will alone, just if it takes 1 second per operation, it will take 28 hours just to process the files. And that is not counting for the data copy itself. And typically a company can have anything between 100,000 to a few million files, and that will set you back a week and a half on file operations alone, plus the time to copy the files themselves. So plan very well. You can create sync tasks that can run way before the migration deadline, and only the files that have changed are synced again on the next run. That way the first run takes long, the second run not much, and the following runs take very little time. I suggest splitting big datasets into smaller chunks and move them into separated SharePoint sites. Don't stick hundreds of thousands of files for a whole company in a single SharePoint site. That affects performance and manageability. Use SharePoint sites to manage permissions and also segregate your business departments properly. Also be aware of the 400 characters limit for paths and file names in SharePoint. You may need to tidy up your data set before you start the migration. You can also copy individuals' cloud storage to OneDrive for Business. You can move Google Drive individual accounts for each one of your users to also individual OneDrive for Business accounts in Office 365. Each user then has their own space, and that space is not shared with anyone else. Now let's start the migration setup. In this example, I'm going to migrate Google Drive to Office 365 in a SharePoint Online document library. Now head over to mover.io website and create an account. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to log in. And then we need to select the source which in this case is going to be Google Drive. And Google Drive as a single user. You could use also G Suite. We need to authorize mover.io to access our Google Drive. Now we can select the source folder. It's gonna load all the content. I've created a lot of files in this folder to test as closest as I can to a real world scenario. Okay, now it has finished loading, and we're gonna select the destination. And in this case it's gonna be Office 365. We're gonna migrate this to a SharePoint library. We could also map source and destination as individual Google accounts to individual OneDrive accounts, but that is not like a big deal. It's pretty much similar drill as what I'm doing now. And we're gonna click on Authorize and then type our credentials. And the password. Then we need to give access to our organization. And now we should be able to choose the destination SharePoint site. But yeah, we have this small problem here, which is because we need to authorize the connector inside Azure AD. The address is aka.ms/office365mover.alf. I'm gonna paste the URL here as well and by text so you guys can see the procedure. Now we're gonna open a new tab and go to the link I mentioned. And we need to click on Office 365 Mover and then permissions, and we need to grant admin consent to our user. Okay, now that we have done this, we may need to wait in between 15 and 30 minutes because this needs to propagate across Azure Active Directory into different servers, different regions. So I'm gonna pause the video and resume in a bit. Now let's try to reauthorize the connector for Office 365. Yeah, it has worked pretty quick actually this time. It took less than 5 minutes. Now it has found the SharePoint sites. We're going to continue to migration setup. And then we need to click on add users and then automatically discover. Give it a couple of seconds. Okay, came with the list. And now I can choose like the destination. So in this case, I'm gonna move to this SharePoint library here. And we're gonna start migrating this one user. I can literally put it right now. And then we're gonna start, it's gonna queue and start transferring the files. We're gonna start seeing some progress in a bit. It's running some pre-checks, and now it has changed it to running. So it will start in a bit showing the details up here. Now we're starting to see the first files being copied and how much data. You can see this live. Because we have a quite large data set, I've created like hundreds of thousands of files, small files as well, to simulate very well a real world scenario. this is going to take a long time to run, especially now due to the coronavirus outbreak. Microsoft has been surely throttling down those type of migrations. So our copy has finished, as we can see here. About 5,000 items, 1.5 gigabyte copied, and we can check the logs. So that is actually here. Download the logs to analyze it. I've downloaded it, just gonna try to open it. But yeah, that's what happens. It takes quite a while to create the reports. So in theory, you should see like a proper HTML document here, identify every single file that has been copied or updated or anything. In this case, yeah, I guess because of coronavirus and the heavy load on their servers, they're just not allocating resources to create those logs quickly enough. But now let's go to SharePoint and then check where our data is. So I'm going to open a new tab, put my SharePoint site address, document library, and then there we can see the even the account used to do the migration, where it came from, like the owner of the folder. And there you go. Everything is here. You're good to go. So if you need any help with migrations or anything, please let me know. I'm happy to give you a hand. Ask any questions down below. I'll do my best to help you out. And yeah, or if you want to hire us to do any migrations, head to sigma.tech and contact us. Thank you very much, and I hope this video is helpful for you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep in touch. I'll be releasing way more videos about migrations and other SharePoint / Microsoft Teams related content. Thank you.